Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, text 2. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasah Karma Yogascha Nishreyasakarav Ubhau Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Visishyate. So if you see, the 5th chapter started with Arjuna's question, "O Krishna, sometimes you say sannyasa is better, basically renunciation of everything. And sometimes you say karma yoga is better. Karma yoga means action, doing our duties with a yoga mindset, with bhakti yoga mindset. Action in Krishna consciousness. So which is better? Sometimes you say that, sometimes you say this." So for that, Krishna is answering in this verse. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Sannyasaha Karma Yogascha Ubhau, both of them, Nishreyasa Karau. Shreyas means beneficial. Nishreyasa Karau Ubhau. Both are beneficial, both are good for liberation, but two means but. Tayostu, among these two, better than karma sannyasa is karma yogaha visishyate. Better than giving up our duties and taking up sannyasa, karma sannyasat, karma yogo visishyate. Karma yoga is better, or action in devotional service is better. So, Nishreyasa Karaubhav, both can be good for liberation, but both of them, among both of them, karma yoga is visishyate. So Krishna is categorically, he is emphasizing that it is better for better for us to continue working in whatever capacity, but dovetail that in service of God, service of Krishna. Because the reason why people, the Gnanis, prescribe renunciation of work, sannyasa, is because our work is fully contaminated. People in this world, they work for sense gratification, which is making us transmigrate into different species and suffer terrible sinful reactions. And Prabhupada quotes that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nunam pramattaha kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaye aprunoti. People, out of madness, pramattaha kurute vikarma, out of madness for their sense gratification, they commit so much of gross sinful actions. People waste their money and life in sense gratification. So even they take their blessing from sadhu to engage in sense gratification. Like Prabhupada was recounting, he was referencing to an incident on the train he was coming to Andhra Pradesh for preaching, coming to Nellore. And he was approached by some gentlemen for benediction. So they came and, Swamiji, give me your blessing. And so Prabhupada was recounting that incident to his disciples. And he was saying these blessings, he called it cheap blessing. They don't even know what is blessing. They think, oh, I've got some disease, and if the saintly person gives me blessing, then I'll be relieved from this disease. Then why don't you go to the doctor? You go to the saintly person for curing your disease. This is called anyabhilashita. They don't even know how to approach a saintly person. There was another man called Mansingh. He was the commander-in-chief of this king, Akbar. He also approached Rupa Goswami, but his approach was, what can I do for you? And so Rupa Goswami, he did not require the temple. He was living under the trees and he was writing and preaching. But he wanted to engage this rich person in the service of the Lord. So he asked him, you construct a temple like this. And that temple came up, the beautiful Radha Govinda temple. So Prabhupada explained why he is putting so much stress on making life members. It's prominent in India. That was the method of spreading Krishna consciousness Prabhupada envisaged in India and certain parts of the world. So, but people criticized. But why? What is the idea? The idea is that people anyway spend money for nothing in sense gratification. But if the devotees take some money from them and engage in, let's say, constructing temple, then the money that they will otherwise spoil in sense gratification will be used for service of the Lord. Exactly following the footprints of the Goswamis. They didn't require money. Actually, Krishna can provide everything. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Krishna, he preserves what we have and provides what we lack. But the point of collecting is to engage the whole world who are spending money in so many sinful ways. But if that money is engaged in Krishna consciousness, they will get a chance. This is called Agnata Sukruti. That person does not know that he is making progress in Krishna consciousness by contributing. Like we had been distributing books in the last 2 months in our book marathon. And somehow or other, we try to give the book and get some Lakshmi. And sometimes people, they commit themselves to take the book and they might think, anyway, let me give them something. But they don't know that they're making Agnata Sukruti. They're making progress. So the devotee is the real friend because by taking that money, he is helping ultimate progress. But sometimes people, they misunderstand. Oh, they are people, they are exacting money by force. But it is good for that person. So Prabhupada, he gave another example when he was talking with his disciples. In Western countries particularly, we see several examples. They accumulate millions of dollars and at the last moment, they give it to their dog. And that's true because the dog is their only companion. So a couple of days back, our neighbors, they were crying like anything. And we were like wondering why they're outside house just crying inconsolably. Why they all of them crying? And then we figured out that their small dog had undergone an accident. They let the dog loose. The dog came out running on the street and the car came and hit and the dog died. And they called the police and said, oh, this man hasn't even stopped. And they were all crying, holding the dog and all that. So, of course, it's a lovable entity, lovable living entity that shows that the spirit soul in every species is what makes that attractive, not the particular body. Once the living entity is left the body is of no use. But the point is, people, they are inclined to so much sense gratification that They are inclined to eat cow, but they are inclined to love dog, and they are leaving millions of dollars to dog. So like that, the sense gratification is so dangerous. It makes us transmigrate into different species. They don't understand that whatever you accumulate, you cannot keep it. Particularly, Prabhupada quoted this Chanakya Pandit's the shloka where he says that this money, either the money will go from you or you have to go from the money. Isn't it? You cannot keep it together. That's not possible. If you don't spend the money for Krishna, if you think, oh, I'll preserve everything, I shall lick up this money and become happy. You are a Krupana, you are a miser. Then money is Lakshmi Devi, she is called Chanchala. Chanchala means not stable. Sometimes she'll be there, sometimes she may not be there. So better you spend it for Krishna before the money leaves you. Or you leave the money at the time of death. You have to leave everything, including your assets. So Chanakya Pandit said, Sannimitte varantyago vinashe niyate sati. He was a great politician. He's advising, if you got money, spend it for Krishna. Don't keep it. But people are inclined for sense gratification. Like one time Prabhupada was walking on the beach, and next to the beach there were big advertisements of the Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, and then there were cigarette butts and Coke and Pepsi cans. They were like lying there. So and then he was saying, so what is the necessity of all of this? The soft drinks and these cigarettes? Because people want sense gratification. The society, people who are after money, they take advantage of this sense gratificatory spirit and introduce all kinds of anarthas to take advantage. They don't know that they are causing misery. You know, the person who was one of the famous celebrities who was advertising this Marlboro cigarette, he himself was afflicted with deadly cancer later on. So this is the spirit that is the enemy. The sense gratificatory spirit is the enemy. So the point is that the Gnanis, they don't want to engage in fruitive activity because it is sense gratification. The ultimate goal is sense gratification. They don't want anything to do with it. The intent is good. But the problem with the Gnani path is that they cannot stay there for a long time because the Jiva wants activity. So what is better activity? Activity in Krishna consciousness, where you are acting, you are not restricting yourself. You are acting on a higher taste platform, so you don't have to come back to fruitive activity again. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Param drishtva means higher taste. Once you get the higher taste, you will not hanker for the lower taste of material consciousness. So the sannyasa is not good enough. It's just like Prabhupada mentions in the purport, having knowledge but not acting is not good enough. Like for example, you read about swimming. You can even watch videos about swimming, how to swim. People are there who can teach you simple tricks how to do swimming. And you are thinking about it. Yes, now I'll do this. It's very easy. The moment you are thrown into the water, all of that knowledge, all of that theory will go for a toss. And the next thing you are thinking is, how do I survive from death, from drowning? That's the only thing in your mind. Because theory is different, action is different. So it requires practice. So sannyasa, without practice of acting in this world, in Krishna consciousness, is not going to help. So that activity is Krishna conscious activity. Even though we are working, we cultivate Krishna consciousness while working. It's like learning swimming under the guidance of a expert swimmer. The spiritual master and his devotees, his disciples, the association of the devotees, they help us in swim through this world. How to cultivate Krishna consciousness, how to be prepared when we go back to Godhead. It's not like directly we serve Krishna. We have to learn how to serve the servants of Krishna. Even the gopis in Vrindavan, they are not aspiring to take the pleasure of having Krishna for themselves. In fact, it is said that the gopis, they are always trying to put Radha and Krishna together and render service to them, and it gives them 10 million times more happiness than enjoying Krishna directly. So it's not enjoy like that. Enjoying is a bad word in the spiritual world. In the material world, enjoyment comes with sense gratification. In the spiritual world, our enjoyment is giving enjoyment to Krishna. And when the gopis give enjoyment to serving Radha and Krishna together, they get 10 million times more happiness. So Chaitanya Charitamrita gives this beautiful analogy. Radharani is compared to like a creeper of love of Krishna. And these gopis are considered to be the leaves, the twigs, the flowers, and the fruits. So the creeper and these leaves and flowers and fruits, twigs. And Krishna's transcendental pastimes are like the water. And when that water of transcendental pastimes are sprinkled onto this creeper, which is Radharani, or in other words, when Krishna and Radharani unite, who gets more happiness? The leaves, the twigs, the fruits and flowers get 10 million times more happiness. And Radharani, on the other hand, she is also trying. She takes different pretenses to have gopis associate with Krishna. And she gets 10 million times more happiness than she would by personally having association with Krishna. So you see, the mentality of devotees in the spiritual world is serving each other, get association of Krishna. So in this material body, the devotional service, the Krishna consciousness practices we do is like an internship. We have to learn the etiquettes, how to be in Goloka, how to be free of enviousness, how to help each other, how to serve others, how to be inspired by others in service of Krishna, how to be attached to chanting the holy names of Krishna, how to be attached to hearing about Krishna. These are all activities of higher pleasure, transcendental pleasure, in front of which the material pleasure just vanishes in thin air. And when you are attached to that transcendental pleasure, all your activities become transcendental. There is no sinful reaction. So people sometimes mistake, as in Benares they were mistaking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The sannyasis, they think give up all activities. But then this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this sannyasi, he is just singing and dancing. What is this? He's doing some kind of a fruitive activity. Yes, if you sing and dance about movie songs, cinema songs, then it causes reaction. But if you are singing and dancing about Krishna's songs, Hare Krishna mantra, it is liberating activity. It is not fruitive activity. There is no sinful reaction. That is the nature. That is the nature of Krishna consciousness activities. That is why Prabhupada says in the purport, therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete. Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastunah mumukshubhihi parityago vairagyam phalgu kadhyate. There is a river called Phalgu in some part of India, maybe close to Nepal, I think. So this Phalgu river, on the surface, it seems very dry. But actually, if you put your hand underneath, push it, there is water underneath the surface. Phalgu means falls. So it might appear like dry, but actually there is water underneath. It's Phalgu river. So this Vairagya is Phalgu Vairagya because if you renounce everything of this world, but underlying current of water is there, means underlying desire to associate is there, underlying desire to act is there. So they are not renounced in heart. The desires are still there and they come back when that desire sprouts up, when that force is there, they come back and act in material platform. Whereas devotees, the renunciation in the heart is there. Even though they act on ordinary basis, but because they're acting for Krishna, that is true renunciation. Why? Because Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Everything belongs to Krishna, as Isopanishad says. And if they are acting by giving everything to Krishna, that is proper renunciation. So that's why Prabhupada, when he explains this, the proprietor of the house, he says, if you rent a house, you are an occupier, not the proprietor. So this body is like a rented place. We are not the proprietor, we are the occupier. We don't have ownership of this body. We are the occupier. So the materialists, they think I am the proprietor. I have this body. Now I can enjoy this body like however I want. No. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. You have Krishna has given you a quota, just like you occupy this particular apartment. Yes, you can do activities which are in the lease. That is your quota of enjoyment. You cannot break the walls. You cannot paint whatever you want. You cannot run and make mess or cause disturbance however you want. You cannot encroach on others' units. So whatever is the quota of enjoyment given to you, tena tyaktena bhunjita ma gridha kasyas vidhanam. Don't encroach on others' property. That is sinful. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness, where the devotee becomes satisfied with what is given to him by Krishna. Yadrichha lava santushto. What is the quota of his enjoyment? He becomes satisfied. He does not over endeavor and encroach and exploit others for his sense gratification. and thereby he remains sinless. He doesn't need to, because he is getting transcendental enjoyment by serving Krishna. Whereas others, because they lack that transcendental enjoyment, they have to seek sense gratificatory, exploitatory enjoyment, and thereby commit sinful activities. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita